Wasabi guys, coming back at you with another deck tech. This time we're going to be looking at yet another Commander 2017 Commander option here with Edgar Markov. He leads the Marauder Vampire deck here, and he is very aggressive. That is the main theme of his deck here, or at least the one that I have here for you, is just pure aggressiveness with vampires. You want to go wide, and you hopefully want to go big. And we have a lot of cards in here that allow us to do that, because a lot of cool vampires have some neat synergies with +1/+1 counters, and we also have some good value artifacts, enchantments in here that also help us out with our combat and also help us get more +1/+1 counters or more tokens, whatever we need to get the job done. It's definitely important that you have the deck built well around Edgar Markov, because he's really what makes the deck work here. Just his synergy here, his eminence ability. If you don't know what he does already, so whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you get to create a 1/1 black vampire creature token, which is pretty cool. It's going to play into our strategy with trying to go wide here, but once you get him out there, he is an absolute beast. He has first strike and haste, and whenever he attacks, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So right off the bat, first time he swings, if you have nothing else buffing him up there, he becomes a 5/5 because of the +1/+1 counter he gives himself. That is incredible. He is just made for combat, and that's basically what this deck is going to be, just because of his aggressiveness right there. It's inherent. So before we get into anything big here, let's go over some lands here that are noteworthy. You're mainly going to be looking for just good mana fixing in Mardu colors. Shouldn't have to really spend too much to get that, but you can always improve by playing dual lands or the shock lands or fetch lands. Whatever you can use to make your deck more consistent and get the mana you absolutely need is always important, so be sure to do that. But some noteworthy lands here: Cavern of Souls, because this is mainly based around the tribe of vampires. You're going to be playing a ton of vampires, and you don't want them to be countered, or at least the important ones. And Vault of the Archangel is here, mainly because it helps us in combat. Gives them Death Touch and Lifelink for just 4 mana on the activated ability, which is very good, and it's going to help us stay in the game longer. Let's move on to the creatures here. A lot of vampires. Starting off on the lower end of the curve here, we have Viscera Seer, which is a good sack outlet. We do technically get the 1/1 vampire tokens whenever we cast a vampire. They can be used as sack fodder occasionally if we don't need them for combat, so why not dump them into a Viscera Seer, get the Scry 1. Stromkirk Noble, very underrated, but it's just a 1 red mana vampire that if we keep attacking with it, be aggressive, it gets +1/+1 counters on itself. Edgar Markov is only going to make him better. Indulgent Aristocrat's just a way to get more +1/+1 counters on our vampires, which is going to go into helping us make our vampires bigger. Blood Artist is just good utility, and it belongs in just about any black deck in my opinion, at least ones that play creatures anyway. Tithe Drinker is just a good value Orzhov vampire here for just 2 mana, has the Extort but also has lifelink, so she's a good blocker and she has good utility there, and Extort is a very underrated ability, especially in Commander, a multiplayer format. And Olivia's Bloodsworn is just a great way to give creatures haste and keep your deck going with aggressiveness. Going on to more of the mid-range or higher end of the curve when it comes to our creatures here, we have Bloodline Necromancer, 5 mana here, one of the newer vampires from this deck, and just pretty much a no-brainer. Allows us to get a vampire back from our graveyard to the battlefield, why not? Falcon Wrath Marauder is very similar to the other red vampires. Whenever it deals combat damage, you get a +1/+1 counter on it. Voldaren Pariah is a fun way to take advantage of getting more tokens. You sack them to her, you transform it, then you force a player to sack 3 creatures. Very cool, nice utility there. Malakir Blood Witch is a fun option, not necessarily a win con, but if you have enough of a presence with vampires, you can definitely do some massive damage to your opponent. Force them to lose a lot of life, and you gain that life, so can definitely put you back into a game if you aren't already in it. Vishkal Blood Arbiter is a fun way to get rid of indestructible creatures. If you have a ton of +1/+1 counters on him, you get to remove those, deal -X/-X to one of your opponent's creatures. Definitely some good removal. And Butcher of Malakir is just good quality removal there on a Grave Pact effect on a creature there. And the fact that we play some tokens here, we get the tokens off of Edgar's Eminence ability. It's just going to make it more powerful, more relevant in the long run. So we need some more support from our artifacts here. We get that in the form of Skull Clamp, Blade of the Blood Chief, and Urza's Incubator. Skull Clamp is a good way to take advantage of 1/1 tokens. Blade of the Blood Chief is a way to get even more +1/+1 counters, perfect for vampires. They get 2 +1/+1 counters instead. Urza's Incubator, kind of a no-brainer in a deck like this. We play a ton of good vampires, and a lot of which are 5 mana or more, so if we can make those vampires cheaper, including Edgar, it's going to help us become more aggressive. It's going to help us finish out the game quicker. Also play Door of Destinies and Coat of Arms, very similar. Very important in Tribal. We have a ton of vampires, so Door of Destinies is going to help make all of our creatures bigger, equal to the number of counters on Door of Destinies, whereas Coat of Arms is just ridiculous. If you have 10 vampires, they'll get +9/+9. Moving on to enchantments here, we have some good value ones here, like Phyrexian Arena and Stensia Masquerade. Phyrexian Arena is just pretty much a staple in black, whereas Stensia Masquerade is cool. Giving your attacking creatures first strike is awesome, and also having the ability of putting +1/+1 counters on your vampires whenever they deal damage to an opponent is also good. We play some awesome enchantments here like Anointed Procession, Cathar's Crusade, and True Conviction. Anointed being the newest one here, and it's pretty cool. Being able to double all the tokens you get off of Edgar's Eminence ability is awesome, and it's going to help us go wide quicker. Cathar's Crusade is Cathar's Crusade. You get a ton of ETB triggers. The more tokens you get, the more creatures you get into play, the more +1/+1 counters you get on all your creatures total. So it's pretty cool. And True Conviction is just a great combat enchantment, very underrated as well. Giving lifelink and double strike to all your creatures, it's going to help you grind out games, and it's most likely going to win you the game if you go wide as well. And why the hell not? If you want to go the combo route, if you don't feel confident enough with your combat strategies here, you could also play Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood. It's an option. Now, we are playing Mardu, and one of the benefits of playing Mardu is having a ton of awesome removal to choose from. We play that in the form of Path to Exile, Return to Dust, Anguished Unmaking, Crackling Doom, Merciless Eviction, and Blasphemous Act. All very good removal spells in this format, and the fact that we have a ton of awesome removal here, we have non-creature removal that exiles, we have that in the form of Return to Dust and Anguished Unmaking, and Merciless Eviction. Crackling Doom is an awesome way to just get rid of the most powerful creatures on the field while also just dealing 2 damage to each player. Kind of underrated. Blasphemous Act is one of the best red spells in the format. You know, dealing 13 damage to each creature just based off of the number of creatures on the field is pretty cool. So moving on from that, we have some Planeswalkers in here, and they all have something in common. They're all Sorin. We play 3 Sorins here. We play the Lord of Innistrad, Solemn Visitor, and Grim Nemesis. The first 2 here, they give us tokens pretty easily. We get the 1 vampire token off of both of their abilities. Lord of Innistrad is a little bit better because that is on a plus. However, I feel that Grim Nemesis plus ability is very good. You get an extra card there while also making players lose life is very powerful. And if you happen to get to his ult, you get a ton of little tokens there, vampires that are just gonna make cards like Cathar's Crusade, Coat of Arms that much more powerful. Just insane how you have all these synergies here with +1/+1 counters and numbers. I love it all. It's not an overly complicated deck, guys, but it's just good Mardu aggressiveness paired with whatever synergies you can find from vampires, and a lot of that is either going to be +1/+1 counters or some sort of lifelink strategy. And if I had to go with which one I like the best, it would probably have to be the +1/+1 counter combat strategy. I think it really is amazing how you can win the game really quickly with this type of deck here with Edgar leading it. You have a super aggressive general here, and he's really the centerpiece of the deck. This deck wouldn't be anything if it were not for his aggressiveness. We don't have this type of vampire deck without Edgar Markov. I mean, Olivia Voldaren, she was a very solid option, but she wasn't as competitive. I definitely feel that Edgar has the potential to be one of those competitive combat-based decks. I mean, we see a lot of control, we see a lot of combo decks. This deck isn't so much a combo deck as I feel it is just a good value, aggressive, combat-based deck. And I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see what kind of support we get for this deck. Moving on to Ixalan, we are supposed to be getting some mono white vampires, which should be pretty cool. as well as just vampire support in general. I am interested in seeing how that is going to go on Ixalan. So anyway, guys, this was my vampire deck, Edgar Markov, Papa Markov. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section. I will have the deck list posted for you guys in the description below. Anyway, you guys take it easy. Void here, signing off. Y'all have a wonderful day.